Feet. That probably wasn't the best way to start a video. Sonic characters have some very stylish designs, and while it might not work the best for 3D games, part of that design is their huge feet. It seems that as time has gone on, these anthro appendages have only gotten bigger, and each time their size increases, my curiosity only gets more intense. We've seen how fast Sonic can go, fastest thing alive, speed of sound and all that, but you've gotta watch your step going that fast. Stubbing your toe, stepping on a screw, it's a dangerous world. But that's what these are for! Sonic's iconic shoes. I'm not here to give you a history on these things. If you want, Sonic Stub made a pretty good video on that stuff. What I'm more interested in finding out, how the heck are these things still here? Gross. Look at these things. They gotta be wearing out. Not factoring in the athlete's foot, surely Sonic needs a new pair of Jordans, right? Well, that's the weird thing. Despite clearing up some discrepancies lately, we have no clue how many shoes Sonic's gone through. I mean, he's had to have gone through a good few, right? He's worn other shoes before. Maybe he wore those ones while waiting for Amazon to ship his new kicks. But you'd think Sonic Team would have put something like that in a manual or two. They do like their weird little details. So that leads me to believe that this is Sonic's one and only pair of the shoes in this style. So, how? How in the world is that possible? These shoes have been through grass, sea, sand, snow, space, jungle, space, volcano, space, did I mention space? The secret is in the chili sauce, which leads me to my big question. What are Sonic's shoes made of? It seems like a bit of a weird thing to get stuck on, but after decades of these things being worn, the question really begins to wear on you. So, has there ever been a statement on this? Game manuals, offhanded voice lines, item descriptions? Well, as it turns out, there are two modern instances of materials for these shoes. Bear with me, but this first one relies solely on Marza. Marza Animation Planet is the animation company responsible for the modern Sonic cinematics. But in this case, we want to focus on the Sonic Unleashed cinematics. You know, the best Sonic animations known to man. Marza is fondly known for having a stunning Sonic Unleashed model, both for design and fluidity while in motion. But unbeknownst to me, for all until 3 seconds ago, they made a material reference. And guys, I tried so hard to find a better picture. So, Nibrock Rock, we all know him, right? That guy that makes amazing looking models and renders in the Sonic community? Well, lo and behold, a very random post came up while I was researching. I know nobody asked, but Sonic shoes aren't made of metal. They are a type of patent leather, a material commonly used in dress shoes. Rock said this was stated by Marza's official material reference. What exactly is the book? And, are there cleaner images? Apparently not. Guys, nobody even liked or responded to this poor man's tweet. I scoured, searched the earth to find some sort of reference or perhaps even another image of this book. And there's just nothing. Like, not even a taste, a morsel. It's like some forbidden knowledge that Nibrock had gotten his hands on. Illegally sharing his sinful taste with the rest of us disgusting wretches. Where on earth can I find this thing? While that makes the shiny look of his sneakers make sense, leather isn't exactly the most durable thing in the world. It creases, wears, tears, that can't be the only material. Thankfully, there is another place to turn, and it's one that even Sega seems to have completely forgotten about. Team Sonic Racing. It's an alright game, not as good as its counterparts, but I mean it's still good. That's not why we're here though. Along with the release of the game, Tyson Hess worked once again to release animated shorts similar to Mania. Of course, to animate these amazing videos, they need model sheets. And while materials wouldn't be something thought needed for a 2D animation, perhaps out of a similar curiosity or care to ours, Tyson Hess put a very interesting note here. Metal sole. So, what is the sole of a shoe? Well, according to the almighty all-knowing knowledge source, Google, the sole is the bottom part of the shoe. It is sometimes referred to as two separate pieces, insole and outsole. The insole is the part of the shoe that has direct contact with the bottom of your foot. The shoe's outsole is the portion that connects with the ground when you walk. So, the sole could be divided into multiple parts, but for this, I'm just gonna assume that he meant the entire bottom of his shoe. Now that I'm thinking about it, this note could have been entirely referring to the color of his sole, not the material. But screw it, I'm making leaps and bounds today! Now, I'm no physics professor or anything, but metal isn't exactly the most flexible shoe material around. Damage! That being said, what metal could it be? As it fits the situation, we could go through the entire periodic table, but this is a Sonic video. When have the answers ever been grounded in reality? Of course, that being said, the metals and minerals in Sonic's world appear to match that of our own. So, as much as I hate to say it, for an answer, we might have to turn away from game canon. Just a tiny bit, of course, nothing egregious like Archie loved to do. In my extensive research, I found two possibilities, with one being much more believable than the other. So, what are they? Hear me out. I'm not gonna pretend this show has any bearing in reality whatsoever. It's a silly little show with a silly little guy. However, some remnants of this show are still present in modern canon, mainly Sonic's love for chili dogs. So I feel it's only fair as a courtesy to Sonic's past to at least touch on it. In the episode Subterranean Sonic, Sonic and Tails end up underground, and the most valuable material just kind of falls out of the sky. This is Diamondius. Gotcha. In this world, it's said to be the strongest material on Mobius. Later on, Sonic and Tails are trapped in a cage made of this stuff, and Sonic himself couldn't somersault out of it, so you know it's strong. As I said, I'm just mentioning this because, well, it's this show. Nothing it says is actually serious, and has almost never been remotely considered canon. This brings me to my real theory. Now, I want you to take a big, fat industrial shovel, you know, the ones that you could get at Lowe's. And take this with a big old grain of salt. Man, that joke sucked. Sonic the Comic. No, not that one. No. Wait, actually, yeah, that's it. Sonic the Comic by Fleetway Editions was one of the first pieces of media Sonic got, running around the same time that the Archie comics were starting. Seems confusing to have multiple canons going around, but back then there was no Twitter, and therefore no one cared. In this comic, there are many inconsistencies and bad ideas, but there are just as many good and creative ideas. Some of them are outlandish, and even attempted these days, Sonic Team would be hung in the streets. But there are quite a few charming ideas. One of those ideas is this. No, not the character, the armor. This is Megatol, the strongest metal on Mobius. It's nearly indestructible, only ever being destroyed by Supersonic during a fight with Commander Brutus, don't ask. It can apparently be scuffed and scratched as shown by Short Fuse the Cybernick fighting a trooper that self-destructed, again, don't ask. Wait, hold up. It says here that the only other things seemingly capable of destroying Megatol are Gumtree fruits. Well, what's a Gumtree fruit? Guys, I found Sonic's balls. But how is it this strong? Besides the need for plot, Techno the Canary was forced to create it by Robotnik. Robotnik didn't use this material often, but when he did, oh, you knew it was gonna be a good story. All that being said, what does this have to do with modern canon? Technically nothing. As it stands, officially, Sonic's shoes are just fancy leather with a metal sole, although that metal could just be referring to color. That's technically where this video should end. Nothing else, right? But that's what's fun about being a Sonic fan. Headcanon is everywhere. We'll accept you for it, hate you for it, we'll love you for hating it, and we'll hate you for loving it. Regardless, here's my fun little headcanon. So, Megatol doesn't technically exist. As I said in Fleetway, Techno the Canary was forced by Robotnik to develop Megatol for his biggest and baddest, these things. But if Techno isn't real, and Robotnik didn't invent it in the game canon, how could it exist? Sonic Frontiers. It sure is a game. This game gave us many new opportunities to view the franchise. Game-wise, sure, but also story-wise. The Ancients, no, not those ones, created all the robots of the Starfall Islands. And to an extent, while it's not officially confirmed or anything, it's a very good possibility that they created the Gaia Temples to combat Dark Gaia. I mentioned that in my Frontiers video, you should go watch it. I'm saying all this because Sonic and friends didn't know that the Starfall Islands existed until Frontiers. However, they would have at least known that the Gaia Temples existed. Maybe they didn't know exactly what they were, but I'm sure that they would have known the landmarks were there. That being said, I think we can all agree that the robots in Frontiers are unusually strong, right? You can still destroy most of them, but it takes effort instead of just a simple homing attack, at least for most of them. You can probably see what I'm getting at. What if, in the main continuity, the Ancients invented Megatol? Just hear me out here. Think about it. They're advanced. They harnessed the power of the emeralds first. They made insane technological advancements. They watched Evangelion. All these things I could never hope to achieve. With their level of intelligence, I'm sure they'd have no problem creating something akin to Megatol. Sonic can't even make a dent in Giganto's schnoz when he shouldn't have a problem with it considering he's fought mechs similar before. Again, Sonic and the others had no clue the Starfall Islands existed, let alone having traveled to them. But that's why I mentioned my other headcanon. See, if we contemplate more that the ancients explored the rest of Sonic's world, Mobius, and that they had the insight to create the Gaia temples, I think it's somewhat believable that they could have also infused Megatal into these buildings, or heck, even created other structures of the same material. You might think it sounds a little weird to infuse an indestructible metal into a building like this. But son, it turns into a kaiju later on and is railed into oblivion. I don't think normal rocks could survive that. If they were on this, admittedly wildly inconsistent planet, why would they not influence it? All this brings us back to these. I don't think it's too far-fetched to say that this is the metal Sonic's souls are made of. As shown, it's extremely flexible, while still being insanely durable. And if we're saying his souls are made of Megatal, why not go all the way? You know leather isn't that durable. I don't think it's crazy to say that this could be I don't know, Megatal-infused leather hybrid material. So, how would Sonic get this? Come on, bro. Guys, it's so obvious. Tails has been shown time and time again to be a genius. Less so in the classic titles, but even then, Tails' adventure shows how smart he's always been. That being said, with how closely all the classics canonically happen together, I don't think this happened right away. What I think, and don't worry, it's relatively simple, is that Sonic had the same new shiny classic shoes from a bit before the events of Sonic 1 to after the events of 3D Blast. After 3D Blast, possibly from the strain of running through this eyesore, his shoes are torn up and literally melting. Trusting his new best friend, Sonic enlists Tails to invent new shoes for him that won't wear out fast. Tails is still new, of course, and as SA1 hasn't played out yet, he's not fully confident in himself. Yet he still feels he owes it to Sonic, almost as some sort of obligation, to try not to just make durable shoes, but near indestructible shoes. Tails hops back into the Sea Fox and heads out to search for materials for his Hedgehog honcho. He then hits land where he finds a weird statue carved out of some sort of metal. Testing the metal, he discovers that no level of friction seems to wear it down. Knowing this is the stuff, Tails reaches for the nearest Sonic balls and melts some of the stuff down to take home. Keeping Sonic's swagger in mind, Tails infuses the leather along with custom soles, straps, and buckles with the precious metal to mold the perfect new shoes for the perfect Hedgehog. Thus, Sonic's modern shoes are now ready for the events of SA1 and onward. So, are there plot holes? I don't know, probably. I haven't thought too hard about it. I'd like to think it's a solid idea, but I'm sure you guys will think of something to contradict me. Regardless, this is my headcanon, and until Sonic Team tells us what they're really made of, I'm sticking with it. Huh? What is that? Oh no. Everyone get down! As much as I love the Megatal idea, it seems as though Archie has come up with a more logical solution. First time anybody said that. And honestly, it could be beneficial for Sonic Team to snatch this up. I'll be quick, but basically summarized fast. Archie Sonic had the same problem of his shoes wearing out. Seeing this, Uncle Chuck, the uncle we all wish we had, I'm just kidding, Darren, you're cool, created new sneakers out of energy from the power rings. Not much to it. Thinking about this game-wise, it could make a lot of sense. If Sir Charles could do something like this, I see no reason why Tails couldn't develop the same thing. Maybe still going with the Metal Soul idea, Sonic's shoes are forged from the rings rather than just being infused with energy. Man, I hate that Archie did something right. Cope! Sonic's shoes are insanely iconic. They've had the same design with minor tweaks for years. Everyone knows who these belong to. But with how long they've been around, it's only logical to wonder, how? I think the answer lies in the Megatal, although Archie's idea is extremely compelling. Regardless, like Sonic 3 and Knuckles' reputation, Sonic's shoes are indestructible, and I think it'll stay that way. Unless you use Sonic's balls. Why'd I write that?